My name's Chris.
And I'm Patty and Selma.
This is the Washing Up Podcast. And we're a day early for a start.
We are a day early.
But secondly, we're going to give you a big disclosure here. Miscellaneous City is currently burning.
Yeah. Nero is on the roof fiddling.
He's fiddling. And the smoke is everywhere. So hence why we both sound a little 0055 sex number.
Yeah.
And
we've all found out what do we do when our beds are burning.
100% we have. And there will be coughing.
Yes.
I'm not going to lie. There will be coughing. So prepare.
Podcasts with 100% more coughing.
Exactly.
That's what everyone's after these
and if you're a doctor out there and want to diagnose what's possibly wrong with both of us outside of the smoke, feel free. We're happy for free diagnoses. What we're also happy about is we're giving you 2 for the price of 1, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yes. Not once, but twice.
We have Zee and we have Laura. How you going?
Hello.
Woo! 2 for the price of 1. I like this. This is good. How are we?
We're very good, thank you.
It's fantastic to get to have you on finally. I know Zee in particular, you were very early on going, so when's my turn? And I'm like,
I was getting a bit concerned. I was like, is this a British thing, guys? What's going on?
Oh, we were going to save you for British Bake Off, really. I mean, because they're a lot harder to talk to. So we just thought we'd get you to do every week and just pretend you were somebody from British every week.
And here is our token person from the UK.
We can do a different accent each week, so we'd be all right.
They work perfectly.
Oh, hello, I'm Zee from the upper class.
So, no, it's really good to be able to get both of you on, obviously. And we've got a fair bit of ground to cover with both of you. I'm just going to start quickly, Zee, because we're going to get out of the way. We'll rip the Band-Aid off at the start, because I like ripping the Band-Aid off early.
Oh, so I was just like making you feel like shit, so we can build you back up again.
So, exactly. So, first question to you, Zee, which is simply put, were you aware that Matt Moran had vast experience in building sandcastles?
Oh, my lordy. I had no idea. But also, I mean, I've never built a sandcastle in my life. I hate
British beaches.
Sand. The worst stuff. And British beaches are filled with pebbles, so I have had no experience with sand. So yeah, I appreciated the information that he gave me, because I've got a toddler now who loves the sand, and now I can be like, okay, we're gonna use the Moran recipe.
Yes, I'm presuming that next year we'll be seeing yourself and your child out there on the beaches at sand, like sculptures by the sea, just doing like
all
sand.
All of them. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, we've talked a lot about Moran lamb, but Moran sand is a thing, and there's a marketing opportunity. Like, I'm just saying, there is. Especially since you had very limited experience with, sand. I didn't think it looked that bad, actually. I thought it looked like a sandcastle. It looked like a sandcastle I'd make. I'll put it that far.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
it's like
I planned like a funny story. I'm not a literal person. I actually think I'm funny. And so I do most things I do just for a laugh. And obviously, like I said, the whole reason why I did that cake, and as it was meant to look like a mess. It was meant to look a bit sort of weird, because like I said, I'd never built a sandcastle. And so that's what I thought I would have done if I do build a sandcastle, is that it would look a mess and people would just be like, what is that? So I was quite proud of it, to be honest. I mean, it was some good work right there.
It's like one of the joys is when you're building a sandcastle is you get the slurry sand, like the sand that's quite wet. And when you drop it on, like you let it slide off your hand and it looks like diarrhea. It's like, it was my
that's
favorite.
A joy?
I do as a kid. It was just very visceral, and you'd be shitting all over your sand sculpture.
This podcast, I learn far more about you every time we do this podcast.
Well, it's because I forget shit, and then people will say stuff like, I'm learning how to build sandcastles, and I'll be like, oh my God, I need to go and like do diarrhea sand. Again, there's my trip for summer.
So quick topic change.
Well, I've just gone off sand again. I've just gone off it, so I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, it's like Zee's like, at this point I want to make it perfectly clear, it was sand. The whole structure.
You're just going back to burying yourself in rocks like you do on good old British beach.
Yeah, exactly. Send me back to Brighton Beach. I'm happy as.
Hadrian's Wall was actually a sandcastle gone wrong. Anyway.
Just keep going. You stupid bigger.
More. So this is the both of you. So in terms of going on Bake Off, what made you decide to apply for the Great Australian Bake Off?
Laura.
I think just because I'd watched it for so many years and I've been baking for so long, I was kind of just like, yeah, let's give it a shot, because I'd heard that they just audition everyone. So I was like, I could be the shittiest person ever and just give it a crack. And then I made it. And wow.
You heard it here, folks. Here first, folks.
You heard it here first, everyone.
It's now going to be like
everyone gets an audition.
Yeah. It's going to be like those Australians Got Talent auditions where everyone lines up with crazy signs and like.
Exactly. But I think that's a lie now, because
Bake me, Maggie.
Moran my lamb.
Moran my lamb. No. Zee, what made you decide?
Look, a few reasons. I mean, I'd watched a couple of episodes, I must admit. But what it was, I was, this is going to sound so random, I was just finishing up mat leave after having my son, and I felt like I needed some kind of oomph to get back into the flow.
Look,
and I was like,
just a whole human, but what more can you possibly do?
A cake.
Gonna go for this and do something bigger than most people do. Like, no, just training to get back into the workforce. I was like, I'll just do this. And then, to be honest, I didn't think I'd get through the audition. So I was just like, yeah, cool, whatever. I'm just going to do it. And then, yeah.
I like the idea of I'm training myself to get back to the workforce. By how? Applying for a TV show where I bake.
Yes.
That works.
She was covering both spaces. It was either baking or sandcastles. Like, she sorted.
Look, I don't do things by halves, mate. I'm all about just getting out there, getting it done. I'd rather just push myself, do something big.
Well, like, we're both disappointed that you came on this year and not 2 years ago. I mean, technically, you were there 2 years ago.
Anyway, we won't
go into that.
Draw a veil, move on. Three prime ministers. Three prime ministers. Anyway.
Yeah. Because we got married and we had like bakers making our cake, and we had a bake-off season, and we could have had you as our celebrant just to round off.
We could have just rounded the whole experience off.
Oh,
that would have been amazing.
Have you had since the show? Have you had anybody go, can we get that bake-off celebrant?
My goodness, I've just booked a couple in the last couple of weeks who clearly said in their contact, we are contacting you because you're on Bake Off. The groom is a baker and the bride just watches every episode. And they contacted me like the first night after the first show, they contacted me, and I've just met them and booked them on the same night. So
there you go.
That's awesome.
Bring that together.
Yes. Oh, that's wonderful. May their marriage be blessed by the baking gods.
By the baking gods, yes. By the baking gods.
We are gathered here today in the sight of the baking gods to join and this.
Oh, I'll be putting all of the things in, all of the baking things. They'll all go in there. All my best jokes and my worst.
Well, yeah, literally, just all the material goes in there, and whatever you take what you like, people. You take what you like.
You just do my thing where you throw everything at it and see what sticks,
Exactly.
Pretty
much what I do. My motto in life.
See what sticks. See what sticks. Anyway, so I mean, it's an interesting approach to take the bake off. What I will also bring up in that episode, obviously, Zee, while the beach cake wasn't exactly something that Matt liked, you did really well on that technical with the Rafa cakes.
Yeah, you killed it.
Well, this is the thing. This is what I mean. I'm a baker. That's what I do. I'm a good baker. That's all I can really say.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of making cakes look pretty and things and doing stuff like that.
They should be hittable.
Yeah, I like that, and that's just me. That's the kind of baker I am. I like things. I think somebody said once on Twitter, there's a description, it's ugly delicious.
Yep.
So, and it's not necessarily always ugly, but it's not always, full of flowers and prettiness, but it's edible and it's chocolate cake and it's piled up with loads of chocolate, and I like to load it all on and make it look delicious.
It's as Mary Berry would say, it's informal.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of then.
It's something you can eat.
Yeah.
I mean, and the unfortunate thing then is that the showstopper in that week just happened to be the illusion cake. I mean, so it's the one time where it is about making it look like something.
Yeah.
Oh, don't do that to me. Oh, look, taste it. It's really good.
But then, like, I really honestly felt like I pushed myself in sense of the brief of the illusion and the gravity defying. I was like, yeah, I'm going to just give it a go.
You know, and it was still good-ish. You know, like maybe.
It's all the angles as well. The angles weren't great. The pictures were taken off, so.
It's like an Instagram selfie, right? It was all about the angle and it was the lighting.
If they'd have consulted with me on what the best angle was, I would have been like, well, come from this way, go up, chuck a filter on it, we're going to be all right.
Why does your cake have like a mouse ears and twitchy nose?
Why not?
Love hearts on its bucket.
Yeah, I've done everything.
Love hearts coming out.
So Laura, when you're sort of baking style, one of the things that started to come across was like the interesting flavor profiles. Let's go with that, shall we?
The weird thing.
What was your favorite one to sort of introduce to the country?
For sure, the cauliflower avocado icing, because everyone's like,
yeah,
it's disgusting. And
It was so delicious, though.
Yeah.
It was so delicious.
But it's
so
good. Like, you have to try it. It sounds like, and it smells like farts. Like when you cook the
yeah.
cauliflower, like it stinks.
So we've got ugly delicious,
what's going on back there?
we've got ugly delicious, and we've got smelly delicious. So
Exactly.
we need to put your icing on one of these cakes.
Oh, yes, that's it. Right, excellent. We'll do it tonight.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's a full visceral kind of experience, you know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a Heston experience.
Oh, and you can start right
my
with
goodness,
making
yes.
like, the diarrhea sand.
No, not your diarrhea sand.
No diarrhea sand.
Damn it.
I'm with you, Laura. I'm with you. So,
Yeah.
where did you get the inspiration for that? I do have to ask, because it was when you first said it, I'm like, okay,
Right.
sure, let's run with this. And then, I've heard from people who have said it was absolutely delicious.
Yeah, I've been perusing through Pinterest to look for like vegan cakes. I'm lactose intolerant, so I usually just bake vegan because I know it won't make me poo my pants. Oh.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I have IBS. I feel you. Back to the diarrhea sand.
Sensitive theme.
I was about to say there's a theme going on here.
I really don't want that to be the episode title.
No, please.
No. We have two wonderful guests, and I am sullying the name of this episode.
Diarrhea episode.
I literally dragging us to the toilet. Anyway.
I'm going to sit out of this.
Yeah. So I've been looking through, and I used to do a pumpkin chocolate cake with that icing. So it was like a 3-veg chocolate cake, but I didn't do the pumpkin on the show because I wanted to do the mayonnaise cake instead. But yeah, it just sounded weird to me, and I gave it a shot.
Again, in terms of weird sentences, like I was going to do the pumpkin, but then I decided I wanted to do the mayonnaise cake instead.
Yeah. Look, I think your ability to turn vegetables into a sweet delight far surpasses my mum, who I can distinctly remember when I was like the age of like 3 or 4, her trying to get me to eat vegetables, and I just wasn't having it because she'd overboiled them. So she made a chocolate milkshake with veggies in it.
Ew. No.
I can guarantee that
What
just
kind of veggies
cover.
Are you starting to sense why there's this damage? Because I'm picking it up. I'm definitely picking it up.
Look,
Suddenly.
you kind of give me strange looks when we sit down to have dinner. It's like a beautiful salad, and I just drizzle some chocolate sauce over the top. Sprinkles.
It is a bit weird.
I really don't do that.
No, but
Really?
I know. Me think I do protesteth too much.
you are protesting.
Yeah.
Mate.
Back to delicious.
So in terms of so like it was really one of the things that I think the audience really appreciated, though, was like, obviously on the podcast especially, we gave a little bit of shit about the weird combinations, but one of the things that the audience liked is it wasn't the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
I think that's something that actually sort of endeared a lot of your baking, because we were getting a lot of feedback early on of, I just want to see what the hell she's going to do next, because it sounds really good. So have you always just sort of looked for the more unusual flavour profile?
Yeah, for sure. Like I used to just Google weird things to put in cakes, and like sauerkraut and like black beans and potato and just weird stuff like that, just to see what would happen and see if like my parents and my brother could pick it up. I was like, what do you taste? Huh?
What is
You taste the sauerkraut? No, you can't. It's always kind of been interesting to me to see what you can put in the cake.
I mean, it's an interesting one when they go, oh, I'm just going to steal a bit of this cake. Sauerkraut. What?
Yeah.
Nothing.
20 years ago, where it was like, you know, the biggest thing to have come out was like a caramel mud cake. And here we are, 20 years later.
Sauerkraut.
Sauerkraut in a cake.
Yeah.
Mayonnaise.
Who knows what will be in the future?
Avocado icing. What a time to be alive, Kristie. What a time to be
20 years from now, diarrhea sand.
Oh, there we go.
I've got a problem.
You can't see.
Yeah, I don't think I want you to bake me a cake, because it'd be like,
no.
does it taste like chocolate?
Yeah. Try to guess the flavour. Is it salted caramel? Maybe. You can't see the look that I'm getting just before she says it. It's terrifying.
I'm like, I can't stop this. Oh,
she's like, I'm going to be calm. I'm going to be calm. I'm going to be calm. There's a look like, this is a chance to say diarrhea. So,
it's like she's got verbal diarrhea as well as way to talk about the other type as well.
Yes. All types, sand.
All types of diarrhea. It's all the same.
So,
all right, let's pop an emoji in and let you get on with it.
Thank you very much. So if you, back to you sort of Zee, if you had to pick what week you would have wanted to have started with, so not necessarily cake week, you can pick which week you wanted to start with for your strong suit. What would you have picked?
I would have chosen probably pastry.
Yes, best week.
Pastry I love making pastry. Like any pastry, just chuck it at me. Like I don't even have a favourite. No, I do have a favourite. Rough puff is my favourite, or full puff.
Oh,
and show off. Yeah, because I love eating quiche as well. When I was younger, I really loved eating quiche, and my mum was like, I'm going to teach you how to make this pastry because I'm fed up making quiche. And
because you felt quiche was posh? Because I felt quiche was posh when I was a kid.
I
don't know.
I think I just felt like I could get more food out of a bite of quiche than having like
No, you're right. It's a very bite of food.
In the cart.
Yeah, you're right.
There's a lot happening with a bite of quiche. You're very much correct.
Yeah. So
Sorry,
I learned how to make the pastry just so I can make my own quiche.
So you would have gone with pastry. Laura, what would you have started with? You could pick any.
Probably cake week. So
you would have started with cake?
Week,
yeah. Oh, okay.
Sorry,
Zee.
Yeah.
Maybe reframe that to which week that happened after you left that you would have liked to have been a part of.
Vegan for sure. I had.
Vegan week, yes. Oh, yeah. I'll take mine back. Vegan week.
Well, I mean, yeah, let's get into the fact that you didn't make it to Vegan Week, Laura. So
she gave it a red hot go.
Look, what I admire.
You said I didn't try. What? Wait.
No, we're going to come back to you, but let's face it. But let's face it. I'm partially expecting that because Laura technically wasn't eliminated, that when the grand final goes to air, she's going to just run into the middle of the shed and just go, "Where's my bench? I was never gone.
It's my time."
She was under the bench the whole time.
See, my hope is that you're like Eureka from RuPaul's Drag Race, who in season 9 had an accident. Like she was like cheerleading or something on the stage and did a knee in, and so she had to go home for medical reasons. And then lo and behold, series 10. Back in the fucking workshop, So, yeah.
Bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
Or again, I still like my idea of maybe they crown a winner and whoever wins is being fated, and then suddenly there's just this voiceover of a new challenger has emerged.
A new challenger enters the ring.
And then like Iron Chef, Laura just comes up through the floor.
Yeah. Me bitches.
Yeah, with an avocado in her hand, ready for her avocado icing.
And
It's
Maggie's
like a basket of all these vegetables is going, we take cake week, bitches.
and Maggie just suddenly looks like Tina Turner from Mad Max. She's just got the
All
hair.
the bakers around the side of the shed going, to go in, one comes out. So, I mean, unless that drama-filled moment is going to happen, let's talk about what happened. So, obviously, they sort of laid the groundwork in the episode by cutting back to you going, I'm not feeling great. You're like, then I cut back to you again, you're like, I'm not feeling that great. In fact, I'm a little bit dizzy, but we'll get there. And then they cut to someone else coming, I think was mixing on the bench, followed by they cut back to you with suddenly there's an emergency doctor there. So what happened?
Well, I've been walking down to the shed. Well, no, I was walking back from the bathroom and Wynn was behind me, and then I almost vomited. And I was like, oh, that's a bit strange. And I've been feeling quite dizzy because I have issues.
Her nickname is Bubble Girl.
Yeah, I need to be a little bubble. But I hadn't been taking my pills because I was like, these do nothing for me, so I'm not going to take them.
Doctors love people like you.
I know. Yeah, and turns out they do a lot for me.
Well, you learn.
And things are kind of just in slow motion. Like I'd look to the left and my eyes would come like 10 minutes later. So it was just, and because they watch out the back as well. So they were watching me just slowly get more and more dizzy and like not see me. And then I sat down and then I went outside and laid on the ground. I don't know what happened. I might have passed out for a little while.
I might have passed out, not sure.
Yeah.
No, I'm just thinking that Nicole's in the back going, no, she's fine. She'll be back up. She'll be back up.
Yeah.
She'll be right.
Quick, somebody work her arms. Somebody work her arms.
Just put her on a chair.
Just drag me out by the ankle. Like, push me to the side. I'll be up soon enough. But they kept asking if I was going to come in and finish it, and I was like, look, I can't even see. Like everything was just kind of spotty and just flashing. I just sat outside for a while in the shade and drank some water, and then I went to the doctor, and then I went back to the apartment, and then they flew my mum down. And Mum was like, holy hell, your room is so messy.
It was terrible.
So hang on, Laura. Are we about to find out that you weren't? No, but I was going to say, are we about to find out that you actually weren't sick for that other episode? You were grounded.
Mum wouldn't let me come back. She's like,
yeah.
What?
Clean up this room, young lady.
Clean up this room when you will not go back.
Yeah, she said she was like, because you're feeling sick, I'll clean it for you. She cleaned the whole room.
We would all comment on Laura's room.
Yeah, so bad.
She was like a teenager let loose.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there's Laura taking notes going, look, the passing out wasn't good, but this getting my room clean thing's really cool.
Maybe I should.
Yeah. We need to stop coming like that.
One more time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like my younger sister back in the days before she had kids. If she was feeling a bit stressed and stuff, because she's got like not OCD, like not like an actual diagnosis, but she needs to clean to get out her anxiety. I just invite her over because like her and I are like chalk and cheese. We get on like a house on fire, but she's neat freak, and I'm kind of like, you can walk through here. It's fine.
Oh no. No.
Is there a clear path to the exit? Yes, we're good.
We're fine. I'm a lot better than I was. And I'm a lot richer than I was, and I can actually hire a cleaner. So these days, it's much better.
Yeah.
I just prefer spending my time swearing on podcasts and talking about sand diarrhea. I mean...
Get it in. Just had to get it in again, didn't you?
No, well, actually, normally it's getting it. No. Moving on.
Oh, stop.
Why again do I get the awe?
You don't have the gravitas of me.
No, I have the gravitas.
Push it too far. Or not.
So obviously, to bring it back and be deeply serious for a moment before we go back to more Sand Diary,
Let's take the arse out of it.
So obviously, it was like a really big conversation about coming back or not.
Yeah. So they had come. Nick and another producer came to my hotel room, and we all just kind of sat down, and they were just like, "What do you think should happen?" And I was feeling better, but that's just because I had slept for ages and I was taking my pill again. But they were just worried that it would happen again, and then I would actually fall over and get hurt. So we all just kind of made the decision that I would just leave and kind of get my health back on track.
So they decided to put you through a fitness test instead and had you run sprints up and down the corridor for a while, and then...
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
like a montage.
Yeah. They were like, it's best if you don't come back.
It's best if you don't come back, yeah.
Look, we've decided.
For me to fall on.
Yeah. We don't, possible death and bake-off really aren't the themes we're trying to meld together. It's
very hard to blend the two. Although, again, welcome to Death Week. So this week we want you to bake 24 appetizers fit for a funeral.
Catering for your wake would have been amazing. Like, now we want a centerpiece for the coffin, and whoever wins this week will go with Laura's coffin down to
the coffin centerpiece should be 3 layers, one of which must be... it brings me in a roundabout way to an interesting question, which is, if you could create a week for Bake Off, what would you want to do? Like, you've got a theme a week. Because there's a lot of like stock standard ones.
Cob
but
week.
You can't with you. I know you want Cob Loaf Week. We know.
Cob month.
You just want the Great Australian Cob off.
Dry week.
Yeah, so you don't have to do moist. It can be dry.
Right, load of dry cookies, like rich tea biscuits.
Literally the judging is Matt Moran like getting a mouthful of sand and go, that's dry. That's dry. And then he has the next one and goes, oh, that's very moist and very delicate. I'm sorry. One of you has not hit the brief. That would be spectacular. I just love this idea of just, crumbly. I love it. That would be great. So what other any other week suggestions here?
I would like, so I've just started eating, this is going to sound so weird, I've just started eating sandwiches. I've never really liked bread. So I'd like sandwich week, but you have to make the bread from scratch. Like, all the bread has to be made. Yes. And then do a matching, make a filling. All the
Cob loaf would technically be a sandwich.
It could be.
No.
Bread with a filling.
No, we're not going is a cob loaf a sandwich, all right?
I'm crowbarring it in.
We know. But they did do Burger Week. They did burgers.
Yeah, they did Burger Week, but it's not cob loaf.
No, it's not cob loaf, and it's not quite sandwiches. So they've done that before, so they could do sandwiches.
Yeah.
Normally when they do sandwiches, they do, the cake that has to look like a sandwich, which no.
I'm pretty sure.
No, I want actual sandwich and...
Yeah.
You've got to make all the bread. No, don't grow your own ingredients, Laura. It's too far.
Laura's like, and we could do, and Zee's like, there's a limit.
This is basically our relationship from the start.
My effort stretches so far, Laura, and then...
I'm like, no, come back in the room, Laura.
Laura, I feel you as a fellow dreamer, who just comes up with crazy cool ideas. Just to have someone go, no, Kristie, you could get arrested for that, Kristie. Or, Kristie, they haven't invented magic that yet. Yeah. So
I'll just wait for the hate emails coming in. She shut the signal down.
Yeah. Who are you? Think of the children.
Think you are.
Soon you'll have right-wing commentators jumping on the bandwagon. Yeah.
Andrew
I
Bolton.
love that you got Laura got so much love when she was sick.
Yeah.
I got seriously sick when we first landed.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Now, but now,
But, you
now
know,
we're
it wasn't
comparing-
on telly, so it doesn't count.
Yeah, see? Like,
I was so sick.
we had to stop
Yeah.
the bus. So and vomit.
Yeah, but you had to stop the bus though, not filming. So,
I got sunstroke on the first day.
Yeah.
Oh
on,
no.
like, first day at the shed, and it was the worst thing
Like-
ever.
Was it like a balmy, 17 degrees,
No, it was seriously.
We were all chilly, and she's like, I got heat stroke.
I'm like, oh, it's really hot, guy.
See, knowing the period of time when they were filming this, I'm going. It wasn't hot.
No, it wasn't at all.
It was winter in
Yeah.
Sydney. It was winter, and
We
but
were
yeah,
outside for a long time. We were standing in the sun for like 5 minutes. It
but
was
we
a
had
long time.
umbrellas. They were but for some reason,
Yeah.
just me. I
You
am.
wouldn't let me put the umbrella over you. You were
I
like, no,
thought-
fine,
I
whatever.
was like, my parents are Jamaican. I can handle heat.
No.
Forgetting that I was actually born in London, so
Yeah, your ancestry might, pertain to like sun-drenched oceans and
but my blood is very British.
But the rest of your body's going. Maybe it's because I'm a Londoner. So
where is the mizzle and the fog?
So, I mean, from your perspective, Zee, I mean, have you seen more of British or Australian Bake Off?
British.
A lot more of British. How much of Australian had you watched?
Look, I watched the first season way back when, and then
Oh, the one that doesn't count, yeah.
one doesn't count.
It's not real.
And we got there and you're like, geez, they've got 2 female hosts. Where's that?
Where's that?
It's different to what I remember.
Where's that guy who played that guy who emptied toilets in the movie?
Where's that guy? The diarrhea.
The diarrhea again.
Yeah.
Where's Kenny? Yeah. It was an odd choice to host Bake Off. I agree.
But yeah, no, I watched the last season and the one before as well. So I have seen a few.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
But obviously, British was a bit more of a staple.
Yeah, well, the thing is, that started a while ago when I was still living in London, and for us, it was, that's just, it's the thing that you go home and like we'd sit down and watch in the lounge rather than just going, oh, I'll just watch it on the TV in the kitchen. I'll actually sit in the sitting room and sit down.
Everyone would sit down, of course, and prepare to find out what Mary Berry thought about, what people were baking, and occasionally Paul Hollywood, but who cared? It was all about Mary Berry.
That was
what
Hollywood high five. I know. Blasphemed.
I know.
We've just lost half of our fucking audience.
And you know
now.
what? I don't care.
Thanks.
I don't care.
I lost the first half to Sandy Diarrhea, and you had to come in with a Paul Hollywood, shade. Oh, going back to pauperhood.
I'm just recounted, guys. I feel,
I'm going to stick with it. Bugger it. I'm going to ride this horse home. So,
all right, in for a penny.
No, my thing is that Hollywood's good, but he's not Mary Berry, and that's the problem.
Yeah, but Mary Berry's getting old.
True.
Yeah, and of course he's not Mary Berry. He's a fucking.
we are all fully aware of that fact.
You talk about Paul Hollywood. Go. Go.
Okay. I actually would like to know, not your influences in baking, but kind of like, where do you take inspiration from when you're coming up with a new thing to bake? That was to my husband. He's been petulantly on the lounge. Like, I should have, he's got his mouth closed when I should have about Sandy Diarrhea.
I don't even know.
I think Instagram a lot. Just
Oh,
my
really? Yeah.
just my explore page. I can scroll through there for hours. And Pinterest. Pinterest is just my life.
I was about to say Pinterest runs everything, doesn't it?
Pinterest is God.
I haven't been on it for
Yeah.
a year. I banned myself from it. Yeah,
Why?
because you fall into a rabbit hole and you don't
Yeah.
stop.
It's the best right
Yeah.
now. And like obviously Catherine Sabbath and all that.
I just like to think that you're actually, you know, more inspired by just random influences, and you know, you've got you know, a Tibetan mountain cake and posing in front of Machu Picchu cake and
Not exactly.
the latest diet trend cake. This one will detox you in 4 days.
Yeah, I'm more
like
the classic
cake.
Yeah.
This is my sunny my perineum and asshole cake.
Yeah.
I've done a bum cake before.
That's cool.
And discuss.
And where did this bum cake come from?
Chuck that one out there.
Yeah. It was so weird to work on, just like smoothing this bum.
She's like, I feel like I'm achieving something, but I'm feeling dirty at the same time.
Was
this
it
is
a
both.
bare bum?
Years ago, I did
undies on?
boobs,
Yeah.
two boob cake. Yeah.
But the first thing that happened when the boys opened it, they just stuck their finger right up the bum.
Of course.
It took me so long. Why did you do this?
I don't want to like stereotype, but was this for gay boys? Like, is that
No, it was for a set of twins.
close enough? You know, not to that.
Oh, God.
I feel like the theming of this podcast
But
is quite specific, and there's going to be a very small, narrow target audience here.
it's really like rectally centered.
It is. It's incredibly rectally centered.
Yes. Again, please don't make that the title
Rectally centered.
of the podcast, because
Not do that.
Zee and Laura are giving up of their precious time to talk to us,
So,
to talk to us.
oh, Kristie.
No.
Anyway, so far more importantly, let's talk about everybody in there, because one of the things that we always get whenever we talk to anyone from Bake Off is just everyone talks about the experience and meeting all these people, and hanging out with all these people is by far and away the coolest part. So, sort of, how did you find it? How did you find
You mean
meeting
like the other bakers?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're all fab. Like
Yeah,
it
they're
is.
all
It's
amazing.
you don't think when you all meet on the first day, you're all a bit sort of like, oh hey guys, hi, and then by the end of the first day, or even by the next hour, you're all just like, is everyone okay? You're like checking in each other. It's like an instant family, and like I think me and Laura, we met it within like 10 minutes of meeting each other. I just like took her under my wing, and then we were just like inseparable for the.
I was like,
for
do I
the
sit
week,
next to her
yeah.
on the bus? And I sat next to her, and I was like,
But it's it's a lovely feeling of meeting so many different people, but also knowing that we've got that one thing in common is the love of the baking and everything. That's why we're all there. And a few of us we'd met at the auditions and everything as well. Like I auditioned with Don and David, and
and I auditioned with Annette as well.
yeah, so we had that connection there as well. So it was quite nice, sort of like meeting everyone again.
And it's people that you wouldn't usually meet. Or,
like even like and also all the different ages and all from different walks of life. But for me, like I don't have a favourite, but if I did, it would be Dennis.
Okay. And meanwhile, Laura's next to you going, thanks.
Yeah, I was expecting that sweet moment just then.
Look, I don't have
they were all
favourites,
my favourites, but there was, Dennis just...
Dennis is amazing.
He really just... When we all first met him, and then as soon as he started talking, we were just like, this guy is hilarious.
Yeah.
And like...
Dennis was absolutely just deadpan, an absolute scream.
Yeah.
His comic timing was genius.
And what I really appreciated too was in the first couple of episodes, the feedback I was getting online from the audience was you either got Dennis or you didn't.
Yeah.
And it was funnier to watch the people that didn't get it. Because he played it so, right up until his last comment where he finally broke.
Let loose, yeah.
All of the deadpan comments, and you've got these people going, what's wrong with him? And then you've got the rest of the audience just dying.
Yeah.
Just some of the funniest stuff I think I've ever heard. So I can understand why, Zee, if you have a favourite as you look longingly at the person next to you, It wouldn't be the person next to you. It would be Dennis.
You're my house, aren't you? Yeah.
So, Laura.
Your innuendo.
So, Laura, if you had a favourite, remembering what she said.
Yeah.
It would have been.
Don't you dare. I'm her favourite.
I'm going to say Anston.
That was like an uppercut of all the people.
Jab. Jab.
I feel like,
what's wrong with me, Z?
Okay, so if we're going to do this in order, my second favourite.
Oh, excellent.
What we're going to see is how far down the list they can get before they both go. I suppose.
Yeah. All the cameramen first.
But it was an interesting. This year's mix of bakers was one of the more different mixes of bakers we've ever seen, and there was a wide range of backgrounds, a wide range of ethnicities, and a wide range of baking experience in there. And I think it made for a really interesting blend, because as you said before, that it's not people that you would necessarily have met, or had interactions with.
Yeah, now like I talk to Z and Anston so often.
Oh, literally every day, every
and,
day.
And Dan. Like I've caught up with him so much since the show.
Dan's like our social butterfly. He'll just
I'm shocked.
I'm like, what are you
doing? He looks
like, I'm in Melbourne next weekend. What are you doing? I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah, no, Dan, as Kristie just said, Dan looks like an introvert. And
just really reserved.
Yeah. He's so quiet.
Like, he doesn't like making a scene.
I literally, I just take the mick out of him every day for his accounts. And we've got a little group on, group messenger, and I'm constantly like screenshotting and drawing clothes on him or saying like, oh, here he is, like days. I was like, oh, he's got a top and bottoms on. What's going on?
Chilly day.
There was a post on the Instagram the other day where he was plugging one of his cakes, and he was just completely shirtless.
Yeah, with a birthday cake in front.
Just covering the cake, and I'm like,
guns out, sun's out.
Sure, that's well done, Dan. I like that.
Could be any kind of weather though.
But yeah, any kind of weather. It's actually freezing, but he's like, nope.
He's like, don't need clothes.
You just buy these shirts that disintegrate, like with his hotness level.
They melt.
They melt
off his body.
Yeah.
Scientifically proven, of course.
Yeah.
But, exactly. But no,
and patented.
And again, we have a very passionate Twitter fan base that found Dan's Instagram very fast. The thirst was real.
I think it's why we're in drought. Like people are just sucking the moisture out of the air with all the thirst that was going on.
Yes. There's been two lots of thirst from our general Twitter audience this year. The first being Dan, and the second being the EMT that was saving Laura's life.
Yeah.
So if you want to pass on, if anyone wants to pass on his details to like all the Twitter followers, I'm sure.
They can bypass Tinder and just go for Baker.
Baker.
Ofter.
The baking dating app.
Yeah, what can we call it? Like, you can't call it Buns of Glory. Like, it's got to be something.
Why can't you call it Buns of Glory?
Because that would integrate buns. I mean, everyone's got bums, don't they? Like, it doesn't matter what gender you are. You have an ass. I mean,
doesn't matter what gender.
That's a sentence. That feels like a podcast title. You have an ass.
Plus, we all have poo holes.
Oh, no, Kristie, no. No.
Stop yourself. Stop yourself.
It's a gravitational pull.
I am attaching a parachute right now. Out you go. So while Kristie drifts to earth on the parachute that I've just given her to save herself, how's it been for you guys watching yourselves back, especially after what was, look, to be blunt, a really long gap between actually doing it and then seeing it all?
I hate it. I hate watching myself on TV. Like the first episode, so many people came and watched it, and I just couldn't even watch. I was in a different room. And they're like, Laura, get out here. And I was like, no, not coming.
I was there.
Yeah,
I feel
like,
you
know what happened, okay?
I was on Vidiot, and I got a question wrong. and it could have tied, and I could have had a shot at winning. This is like a kid's game show, like a teenager's game show that was on in the 90s. Explaining for Laura, who was both too young, and Zee, who was off.
Yeah, she just went,
yeah, idiot. What's this? It was on the ABC back when you had only select channels to watch. And I just got this question wrong. And yeah, Tom Carroll is apparently not a golfer. He is a surfer. And that damage will live with me forever. So I think we need to start a support group, Laura. Just, we'll eat some baked goods and tell old war stories.
So Zee, how did you find it?
Look, one has been in the arts since the age of 8.
So one has.
She's cultured. She's from London. The arts hub of Europe. Not Vienna. London.
This is what we find out she was in the background in one of the episodes of like Teabag and T-shirt.
I will not reveal what things I've been in.
Coronation Street. The Bill.
The Bill. I hope it's the Bill.
The usual suspects, all of the
running away from Reg Hollis.
Before we had the dodgy leg.
Laura sitting there going, what? What's
Again, it was time to like switch channels from the ABC when the Bill music came on.
That's how we watched it. So.
What?
Yeah. Okay. See, in Australia, the Saturday night viewing, Zee, was the Bill into Birds of a Feather.
Oh,
there you go.
We had the same.
Yeah, that was our Saturday night.
Yeah.
And then we go through something local, depending on what was around. But it was the Bill into Birds of a Feather.
Amazing.
Which wasn't very good. Once they owned the CAF, I didn't like that. It got rid of after that. When she came into money and they were no longer criminals anyway.
Yeah, no, they had to, everything was back in. They were in the house, 2 women in a house.
Yeah, it didn't work. See, here we are. And again, Laura sitting there going, what the fuck is a bird of a feather?
Literally looking at me like just going, what?
You have to understand, Laura, that back in the olden days, BBC productions were essentially what the Netflix shows do, like for international relations, because we could talk about Doctor Who. Someone was from England, you're like, oh, do you watch Doctor Who? Usually, like, yeah, or you find something like The Goodies. You'd be like, how politically incorrect is that?
Whereas we had the delights of having.
Interestingly enough, the only reason that Neighbours is still made in Australia is because the UK buys it.
Yeah.
Literally the only reason.
If that had to come off air, they would lose it, I reckon. They wouldn't know what to do with themselves.
See, this is going to blow your mind, Zee. I lived in Miscellaneous City in Ultimo. Well, that's going to give it away.
Well,
and then in Balmain, which wasn't too far away, the guy who played Mr. Fisher lived. And so you'd see
Donald Fisher, is that his name?
Yeah, Donald Fisher. You'd see him walking up the street.
The afro. He had like an afro. It was almost
Yeah, and the poor bugger, you just knew he copped it all the time because as soon as he saw teenagers walking past him, and I was too scared to say anything, but you could tell that other teenagers had been calling out, Mr. Fisher, Mr. Fisher.
And he was a real sort of grumpy, sort of not great character.
He was the grumpy principal.
In real life, Yeah,
it turned out to be Bobby's dad with Murad.
He got killed in the field, wasn't it, Bobby?
She got killed by a motorboat.
I think that was the last time I watched it.
To be fair, I think that's the last time that almost anybody watched it.
It was when they brought in the new Pippa that everyone's like, who? Oh, no.
Who's this? Yes, you can't just switch the character and say to me it's the same person.
Laura, we will write you a bunch of notes.
She's so switched off right now. She's like, I'm tired.
We are here reminiscing, and Laura's going, what are these old people on about?
Never watched Neighbours, never watched Home Away. No clue what's happening.
Yeah.
To be fair, I never watched Neighbours either.
Look, the modern day Neighbours and Home and Away are just nothing on what went on. Home and Away had the nutter, like a serial, was he arsonist and killer and stuff? There was some really serious shit going on.
E Street had a serial killer.
Yes.
Mr. Bad, who went around murdering people. Literally murder. That was at 6:30 at night for teenagers. There's a serial killer on the loose. And then there was a girl in overalls fixing cars. It was a bizarre show. Anyway.
And a guy who was paraplegic or something who suddenly walk again.
Who suddenly got the ability to walk. It was incredible. Take that, Coronation Street.
Like
anyway.
Genetic,
So, back to Bake Off.
Oh, that's what we're talking about.
Remember this show.
We knew we were talking TV something.
Look, see, we'll talk 80s soapies in our next podcast.
So, Laura,
home of our neighbours.
Yeah. So, Laura, to bring you back into a conversation, and put you back on more solid ground. Of all of the bakes that you attempted, which is the one that you would never in a million years want to go anywhere near again? She's pondering. Yep, that seems fair. That seems fair. I mean, isn't that where Dennis currently is? He's on his way hunting them down to pick them up.
To the bottom of it. It was awful. We were all so confused. Like, we went to it was just chaos. I just happened to have the right amount on the plate, and I was like, "Oh hell yeah!"
No, what you do is no. That's when you stand back and you go, "I knew it."
I was like, "It's my birthday. I'm 21. I got these 12 things on the plate. It's perfect."
Yeah, but that's where the correct response is. I always knew that. I was just testing you.
That's why you can't look. I don't have to finish off the series. I can just get sick and leave.
Exactly. You got to be dramatic.
This is just a bow out here. I got 12 on the plate.
I've nailed the Arlette. What more is there to do?
Mic drop and you're out.
Again, it's the George Bush the first on The Simpsons. As I achieved everything in my first presidential term, there was no need for a second. The end. It's the same thing. I've made an Arlette and I have the right number. I'm out. All right, of all of the bakes that you've seen, Zee, which one would you definitely not want to attempt? Not the Arlette. I'm banning you from the Arlette.
I would have liked to have tried the Arlette, to be honest. I like all the tricky things. I like to bake anything. I like to just
say your weird answer.
What's my weird answer? Canales.
Yeah.
I don't care how it's pronounced. That's how I'm pronouncing it.
Yeah. You make some canopies. You'll make some entremets.
I'll have all those things. Yeah.
See, as I mentioned the other day, I actually attempted the vegan terrine.
Right.
I'm so proud of that. You're so adorable.
No, but the outside didn't work. The galette didn't work.
I know, but you're just still proud of how you rescued it.
I'd like to try that one. That's not one I'd like to avoid. I'd like to try that one.
Yeah.
My whole family back in the UK are all vegans, and I'm the only meat eater. Probably the reason why I've been extradited to Australia. But
with those convicts, go be with the pig down south.
Go be with them. Go and eat your bacon over there, mate. So I would like to try that and bring it back to them and be like, "Hey guys,
I found veganism in Australia." Plant-based.
My mum would be like, I know you haven't.
We went to a vegan restaurant voluntarily last night. We've come a long way, haven't we, my love?
Let's go with that.
Yeah. It has these salt and pepper mushrooms. They were friggin' phenomenal, and Szechuan eggplant.
Lovely.
Very happy with that. Yeah.
Some amazing. No, there's some amazing vegan dishes that are really delicious. I mean, the fact that I add bacon to most things shouldn't really. My little Ziploc bag of bacon I take in.
Look, I've mentioned it before. I had a friend of mine when I was in high school who didn't go vegetarian, but he went vegan. We didn't go vegan, he went vegetarian, but we were going out and we were having a pizza and he ordered prosciutto. And I went,
that's me.
Aren't you a vegetarian? And he went, yeah, but prosciutto's cut so thin.
Oh my goodness.
Doesn't really count.
Right.
Tartare there and say, well, it hasn't been cooked, so it's closer to living.
I was fine with his prosciutto.
He basically hunted it himself. It's okay.
It threw itself on the plate and said, please. So,
love that.
I mean, look, there's a logic to it. I think there's definitely a logic to it. So in terms of just before we sort of start to bring this, well, poop ship to a close, you did
Don't get started.
Sandy poop ship.
The Sandy poop ship. No. So
Again, not an episode title.
No. Was it one of those situations in between sort of the different bakes where you'd sort of be trying to hip check each other to different benches? Were you eyeing people's food off before the challenge finished?
We didn't really have time.
Yeah. No,
And you're not doing it properly.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking at the people in front of me, but I didn't really.
It was difficult. Well, I mean, I can only speak about one episode, but it was because I was right at the front. It was there was no looking back. To be honest, I was just so focused on just getting on and.
Zee had the sink on her bench, so I'd come and check in.
Yeah.
Plus, as we found out, like those camera people are like ready. They've got their own forks and they've got the recipe. They know, and they've got experience. You know, years of experience. And just
exactly
on their prey.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite revelations from that Nicole podcast was that the camera crew come prepared with their own fork.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, that was something that I think it shows a practice and skilled.
We need to make some engraved forks.
When when you see like, oh yeah, like if Matt and Maggie it's the best day ever.
So,
like Mum and Dad took my
So before we let you go, do you have anything either of you want to plug? Anything you want to promote? Anything you want to go for it? Zee, start with you.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm a marriage celebrant.
I figured you'd want to promote it.
So I want to marry all the people. I have a very good British accent because I am British, the British celebrant.
What an ass.
The only British celebrant.
And I do a great ritual where I get people to drink tequila shots after we've done the legal section. So, yeah.
Nice.
That feels like a good call.
We should have thought of that. But we didn't have Z. See? That
was what we're missing.
That's what we're missing.
Wow.
So,
just
Laura, do you have
do
anything?
like a commitment ceremony.
Excellent.
Laura, do you have anything to plug? Maybe a Pinterest?
Is there a board you're particularly proud of?
You're just going on as a guest.
Yeah. I just browse other people's things. I have Laura's Baking Co., which is like Gold Coast based. I just do like cakes and cupcakes and vegan stuff and weird things and whatever the Gold Coast wants. Usually vegan.
Weird things and vegan, yeah.
Weird things in the shape of theme parks.
Erotic cakes. Oh no, I don't want to do erotic cakes.
No, no more bun cakes.
Butt cakes.
The one. Yeah.
Oh, I've got a catering business.
Yeah.
I
was about to say, you are not very good at this publicising thing, are you?
I've had a catering business since like before I was a celebrant. So yeah. I like to call myself a small batch caterer. That it's because I'm up very late here because I get up at like 2 a.m. every morning, and so
God,
this is way past my bedtime.
Uh-huh.
And but I've got a catering business, and I'm very much like I like classic flavors and classic dishes, and I like to think that it's UK picnic, lots of quiche. Lots of sausage rolls, but everything from scratch.
lots of rain.
Yeah.
No.
Lots of rain. You go on a picnic, and then I'll go with a watering can and just make sure you're feeling that British thing.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to finally get to talk to both of you. I mean, we've been trying to work the time to be able to get you both on, so it's really good that, especially in grand final week, we can get to have a really good chat to both of you. Thank you both for coming on. It's been an absolute delight.
Thanks for having us, and I'll stop emailing you begging me to come on.
To be honest, I was anticipating it continuing. I was finding it fun.
Am I coming again?
When's next? So thank you very much, Zee. Thank you very much, Laura, for coming on. Tomorrow night is the grand final.
Yeah.
So we're back for that, and that's a big night. That'll be a really interesting night. So until tomorrow night, if my voice holds out, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
We'll catch you all later.
Oh, no, not the butts.